Live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You're watching Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.
Welcome back to another episode of Shaking It Up with the Sharks. And we brought in the Sharks tonight. It's going to be wild. It's going to be insane. There's going to be blood in the water, everybody. It's going to be nuts. We have my man Caeser over here, another Shark from Arizona. Came out to Vegas, living it up, and we'll get into what he does. And of course, if you can't read everybody, by the hat and also the shirt at the same time, we have Legacy, the man, the Mac Daddy, and we're going to dive into what these guys do. They just came off an amazing event, through an awesome event out here in Vegas. If you missed it, I don't know where you're at. This was a Rise event, super awesome. Coming out of COVID, packed out a room. It was insanity out there, and it was just super awesome. So why don't we just dive right into that and then kind of give us some feedback, what inspired it, and how you end up putting it together.
Well, I appreciate you having us on. Realistically, it was we planned on doing something a lot smaller than what it ended up being. Like we were like, man, this pandemic got everybody on Zoom calls. We want to put, like-minded individuals in one space, give them some value, like anything, as long as we can do it in person. And it ended up, at the Caesar's Palace. We had like a smaller venue before. Then we started seeing all the people committing to coming. We started seeing the caliber of speakers that we were able to get.
Yeah, because you had arranged it in another location halfway
at first. Yeah.
The Caesar's now is why you couldn't fit the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Good job.
Yeah, and appreciate you guys for supporting it. I know a lot of your team members. Well, I hope they enjoyed it.
100%.
All
no
the feedback,
except for one. It was the Bengals.
all the feedback, man, we're getting is nothing but just really, it makes it worth all the stress and all the sleepless nights, because putting stuff like that together. I mean, even a few days before, I was just like, man, what did I get myself into, right? And but it was all worth it. And hearing everybody, after the fact, talking about how awesome the event was, and everybody's assuming like, hey, when's the next one? I want to be part of it as well. And the name Rise, it's like rise above all the BS that's going on, because I get it. COVID was a thing, right? People were getting sick,
disappeared overnight.
There was just there was just a whole nother agenda to like shake things up a little bit. And as entrepreneurs, we're out and about. We make a living off of shaking hands, hugging people, smiling and dialing and all this stuff. And it's like you can't even smile at people now with the mask and all this stuff. And I think it was bringing the morale of our society down.
Of course.
And for those that were part of it, that's what we're trying to just rise. Like, let's get back to business. Let's get back to doing what we know how to do, and let's not look back. So it was awesome.
Definitely. No, it was super awesome. When you're planning the event and coming up to it, I think why a lot of people hold back is that thought's always in the back of their mind. What if it flops? What if people don't show? Whatever. Yeah. At any point, did you have any scarcity or frustration, or like, oh, God forbid, or you said,
well, I mean,
the push through?
The fear is always there. Yeah. Like, it's not about not being afraid that possibility could happen. It's a matter of pushing through it. And you know what? Like, no matter what happens, we're going to knock it out. Like we said we were going to do it. So no matter what, we have to push through to it. And like he was saying, even a couple of days before, like we were looking at each other like, dude, what did we commit to, man? Like, this is crazy. So many things came up to try to stop the event. So many hurdles, so many obstacles that we had to overcome. But at the end of the day, man, like,
we're like, keep going. Yeah. We got to keep going, man. This has to be done.
And once it was all said and done, it was almost even emotional. Like, damn, like we pushed through. Like, finally, like, we were excited for the event, but after the event too, it was super fulfilling, because it's like, man, we pulled it off.
And it's only been a few days, and we've followed up and talked to so many people that were because of the event. It's crazy. Even the guest speakers, from Carlos to Brad to Andre to Dennis, Rocky. I mean, we're still like, what's next? Because they see when you commit to something like that, people see that your level of passion, your level of willingness to just do something that the average person's not willing to do. That's how you get an influence attention. That's how you paying them also helps, right?
Yeah. Money always talks at the end of the day.
So
just saying.
Now they know you're serious. You got to pay to play, and once you pay to play, now you got to play your cards right and bring the best out of you and your team and your network, right? Because that's what really is about. Rise is becoming a network of people, and a different way of. There's a lot of mastermind groups and all that, and I've been a part of them, and I think they're awesome. But for us, it's not really a mastermind group. It's not going to be any like mastermind group fees or anything like that. It's how do we collaborate? How do we give each other value?
Because you had people of a mixture over there, solar people, real estate people, crypto,
construction,
And a big part too, so like a differentiating factor from our event to other events is a lot of times they do the events and they want to monetize all of the audience. They want to generate leads. They want to figure out how to, So for us, it was really our inner circle. Like everybody that showed up, everybody that was in those seats was a part of our inner circle. So we want to build our inner circle. We want to continue to grow and collaborate and see how we can share business. Because at the end of the day, with a team, you can get so much more done. You can cut so much time and certain goals that you wanted to hit with the team. And there's a lot of things that you can't do without a team. So we really wanted to give back to our team, everybody that supported us before, and grow. Show them what's possible and kind of set the standard for our people. And hopefully inspired a lot of them to want to get out of their shell. I know a lot of people got on stage when Dennis Yu was up that I would have never thought they were going to get on stage. Yeah. And it was kind of bursting out of the bubble.
Dennis brought that out of them, because he makes it like so comfortable being on stage.
Yeah.
So people are like, well, here's my chance. If I ever wanted to get on stage, it doesn't seem like there will ever be a more comfortable setting than the way Dennis Yu set it up. So that was awesome. That was genius.
No, definitely. Like he had his engineer up there, was it? Yeah, one of the guys that's one of his partners was an engineer, which is normally a very technical person, and that wants to be in a little box, doesn't want to be on camera, doesn't want to be in the spotlight or anything like that. And he had him up there doing his thing. Yeah. So Dennis definitely pulls out people. Yeah. Yeah, he does 100%. Definitely. Were you getting a lot of messages afterwards? Thank you. It was awesome.
Well, still, even till this day, we have a lot of people that want to speak now at the next event. People that I haven't even talked to in a while that I didn't even think were watching.
So there's talks of Rise Miami, Rise somewhere in Texas, whether it's Houston or Dallas, Rise Phoenix, and there's somebody from the Spice Network from Dubai.
Lauren.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be something cool that we can plan for as well. So, I mean, and then the event that we're planning to do with you as well. So it's just going to be a packed and booked calendar.
All the way through.
Yeah, definitely. So, come Christmas time, I think we're going to be look back at this year and be like, wow.
Holy crap. Yeah. Well, you have your solar business going now, and that's pretty much moving with your team and everything else between Vegas and also Arizona, so you can afford to do that and everything else time-wise, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of leverage involved now with the sales managers and all that good stuff that for 5-6 years we were dedicated to that market, building it up to where it's at now, and now it gives us the opportunity to do things like events, travel to different markets, and the idea is to grow our team nationwide.
There you go. Yeah. Definitely. I'm used to seeing you with your cool shades on. I say it all the time. This guy's got to wear these cool shades. He sells so much solar, the sun's just shining on him constantly, bringing in the rays.
Yeah, man.
I almost didn't recognize you when you walked in.
Well, in the solar business, man, you look up, you got the sun. You look down, you got solar panels. So it's always hitting you in the face. So
definitely. And then Legacy, why don't you tell us what else do you have going on as far as the Rise event? Definitely drove in there. You help entrepreneurs across the board since I've known you. You always have amazing projects where you're helping build people up and build out their businesses. We've had at Lightspeed. You help Lightspeed build out systems and everything else. What else are you working on?
So a lot of, in general, I help businesses systematize, because a lot of why they can't get out of the business is they're so stuck working in it, they can't really zoom out to see it. A lot of the way how I help business owners see it is I put them on Google Maps. And I'm like, look, we can get stuck on a stoplight, traffic here, but you zoom out, you see the city. You zoom out, you see the state. You zoom out, you see the country. And you have to know where you're going to go. and map all of that out. Because sometimes what brings you to one stage isn't going to take you to the next. And if you're only planning for one piece, like it's like a maze. Like anytime you look at a maze, you look at the end point, then you look at the beginning, and then you start making your trail. You can't go about it just, exactly, you can't go about it just running and hitting dead ends. You're gonna get overwhelmed. You're not gonna know where you're going. You don't have a direct path to go. And a lot of what I'm doing now too is the systems, I've kind of turned around and stopped taking new clients because we have so much going on. I want to just really help everybody in our inner circle. Pretty much everybody that was at the Rise event. Like, how can my services be provided to our team, to our people? How can we grow and expand everyone that's there? And also another piece or another element is entertainment. I've been doing a lot with the entertainment side of things because there's a formula. There's a formula to becoming a celebrity. There's a formula to becoming a great entrepreneur. So I want to really dive down on those formulas, becoming a celebrity, becoming a systematic entrepreneur, and offering those services to other people. Because I know how much that's going to help. And right now with social media being such a big thing, I think learning how to celebritize yourself is crucial.
No,
So-
100%. You know, somebody gave me a piece of advice a couple years ago. What social media has done is it has leveled the playing field with actors, supermodels, name it. Because before, to see somebody posted in a commercial or whatever it might be, it's somebody super ultra famous or whatever it might be. But now you can get yourself there utilizing social media.
Absolutely.
If you're smart about it with your channel, you know, you run into people who are like, oh my God, I feel like I saw a celebrity.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that person had
Well,
X amount of followers.
It's funny,
You
social
position-
media influencers are more recognizable now than some celebrities. Like, think about Gary Vee. He's more famous than famous people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can run into an actor and not recognize him, but you'll recognize Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And so anybody, there's a book called, I believe that came out a few years, called Here Comes Everybody, right? Because now with all the social media platforms, anybody has the opportunity to do that. And so, but obviously there's a formula like Legacy was talking about. One of the things that Carlos mentioned over the weekend, you know, first you gotta work on viral videos. What's something that is, a lot of times we want to skip that step and go straight to what we sell, what we offer. And so he's like, that's why look at all the viral videos. It's people dancing, people falling down. It's always entertainment. It's not services or sales, not directly at least. And then you move into value, right? So first, the viral concept, value. What knowledge do you have? What do you bring to the table? What do you provide? How are you different from everybody else? And then is your offer, right? And so you have to have a system, a formula. You can't just wing it and hope that I'm gonna throw this out there, throw that out there. And for a long time, we were pretty much doing it that way. And now with all the different influencers and different people that we're connected with in these events and all that, now we're like, okay, let's take a systematic formula and apply it. And part of it, you gotta have your videographer, you know, you gotta have your social media person, it takes a team, right? And so that's the challenge because it does take time, it does take money. And so if you're
finding a good team.
yeah,
good
and if you don't have a nice income stream coming in to be able to cover that, it makes it difficult. But then you look at what Dennis, you taught us over the weekend with the iPhone, you can pretty much do a lot of this, right? So it's just, you can start at different levels, but some of the biggest influencers don't have a videographer, right? If you can afford it and if you can do that, nice. But if not, the thing is about having a videographer, it's already happening. And when you don't, you gotta like remember to take off your phone. And then it could be, at least for me, it's more awkward to record myself than if somebody's already just recording.
Yeah, or you just hire your wife or something like that. That's another way to go.
Yeah.
Be like,
So,
honey,
but great
you
nuggets.
just got promoted.
Great nuggets. Yeah, man.
New videographer.
Yeah, whatever it takes. But yeah, with a lot of great nuggets in that regard, especially from Carlos and Dennis at the Rise event that I took some notes on, and I'm like, that's something we definitely have to implement.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's most people just kind of scared to get out there and do it. Scared what people's opinions are going to be.
Yeah.
They're going to think I'm funny, I'm weird. What if I goof up or anything else? But if you just commit to it at the end of the day, like anything, you two are very successful. Anything, it's that commitment. Like, I don't care. I don't give a crap. Having thick skin. So what if?
Well, that's why having a videographer plays a huge role because you might overthink it. Oh no,
Yeah.
I don't like that one. Oh no. And when someone else does it, it's like, dude, that was good. Let's put it on. Let me work on it. And you're like, okay, cool, do it. So it's a lot easier. It's kind of like when you talk highly about yourself, that's called bragging. When someone talks highly about you, that's edification.
Yep.
Way two different concepts.
Correct.
But yet it's the same information. And so it's kind of the same thing for me. I know I've had trouble doing that for myself. I'll do it all day if someone else is recording and decides they say it's good stuff, put it on. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But for me to sit there, look at myself, and figure out what was the best
Was that a good angle?
Yeah, like let me do it tomorrow. I don't like that shirt, and you overthink it,
Yeah.
you know. And so if you can, and you can have a full-time or part-time videographer on board, if you really want to push, you know, the influence side of it, and if you really want to make a run for having a big following and everything like that, then eventually it's something that you're going to want to do anyway.
No, 100%, definitely. So legacy, why don't you give us a little feedback as far as going into the entrepreneur space, partnering up with Caeser. Before that, what was the legacy before? What were like some of your struggles before seeing, I want to say the final product, but a better product?
So a big thing for me, well, I'll go back to like high school-ish.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
26? Mm-hmm. Man, you're a young buck. Are you 26 too?
No.
No.
No. I keep asking him the questions.
Yeah, no, so a big struggle was validation and permission.
Okay.
I grew up in a very, very strict family. It was always permission. You can't do this, you can't do that. So that was a big barrier for me to break. I always knew that I wanted to do something big. I remember getting laughed at when I was in kindergarten, and my teacher wanted me to switch what I wanted to be when I grew up. You know, I was like, I want to be famous. She's like, no, really, what do you want to be? And I'm like, I want to be famous. No, you got to pick something else, like a firefighter or a cop or something else. And she literally made me change what I wanted to be. You know, so it kind of instilled, you know, this little thing in me.
Like a little bit of doubt?
Yeah, like doubt and the ability in myself. So I remember I was 19 and I actually decided to do an event for myself because I've always been in music. That was like my go-to. What I thought, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna do music. And then I found out that even in the music world, you have to be business savvy. You have to understand how sponsorships works, how product placement, marketing, how are you gonna fund it? How are you gonna monetize it? And there's so many components that go to it. So I remember wanting to throw this event, and everybody that I would tell that I was gonna do it was like, oh no, dude, you can't do that. It's gonna get shut down. It's gonna, like, nobody's gonna show up. Well, long story short is I ended up doing it. I had 2,500 people show up in the middle of the desert through a desert party.
Was this Vegas?
No, this was in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay.
So after that, like once I saw that ability, once I saw that I ignored what everybody else said, I committed to what I said I was gonna do, and more people than I anticipated showed up, it was like a fire that was lit in me. I'm like, man, if I can do this, I can do anything. And literally from that point on, I went straight into starting my own businesses, getting into sales, figuring out at 19, and then figuring out how to move forward from there. And again, there was a lot of pitfalls, a lot of struggles, people I trusted that let me down, and then it resulted into something else. It's just rely on yourself. Like, have everybody else's support as bonus, as extra. You never want to be a kickstand, because if they kick off, you're gonna fall. So having that support system with yourself, and then making the move out to Vegas. Like, I saw
What year
the
was
network.
that?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So 2019. I saw Brad, because I was looking, I'm like, I need to be in a circle of influencers. I need to be in a place where I can rub shoulders with these guys. Where could it be? And I was looking at Grant Cardone first. And then I saw Brad and his system. And I'm like, man, this guy has all the influencers. He's got Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Grant. Like, I need to go there.
They're just coming through the door.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That makes
so
total sense.
that changed everything. Like, once I showed up to Lightspeed, I started from the bottom. I started as a salesman. I remember the requirement was to make at least 70 calls a day. I was doing 400 calls a day. changed the dynamic even of the room. Like I started calling the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, started calling Hawaii, then Australia, like really like zoning in on everything and doing everything with intensity. And Brad saw that. So started moving up the ranks, became director of operations of the entire company. And then from there, my proximity elevated. Brad started introducing me to a bunch of influencers. Then I saw the services I provided could be subcontracted. So what I ended up doing is still making a good deal with Brad, but I opened up my own business and I said, why don't you just hire me as a contractor? I'll have my own business. You don't have to worry about payroll, but we can still work together. So now I'm in business with Brad, no longer working for him, and he's sending me clients. Now we're out here doing Rise events and connecting with badass people like yourself.
At the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely is. So one of those common traits you see with a lot of successful people is you see the opportunity. Most people will be like, oh, I have to start at the bottom. Why am I making this? Why am I doing this? Well, it wasn't about what am I going to come in and make, starting at this section. No, what's the bigger opportunity looks like. And that's what most people miss at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They miss the opportunity because they come in at a selfish point a lot of times. They're like, nope, I got to make max. Nope, I know I'm just going to crush it. And they give you every promise. And those normally are the ones that fall on their face.
Yeah, the ones that talk a big game.
Yeah,
It
100%.
never fails.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because it happens with us all the time in our organization. People talk about what they're going to do and why they deserve the best pay that the industry has to offer. And the problem with that is that now you got to live up to it, right?
Yeah.
But when you have that confidence in yourself, and it's like, okay, I'm fine. I can start there, but I'm going to show you what I can do and what I can deliver. And man, we've seen it time and time again. The ones that talk the biggest game end up being the ones that don't, and then the ones that you don't expect to get their wheels turning that quick sometimes are the ones that surprise you. And so for Legacy to just go in, start from the bottom, and work his way to the top, and that's the confidence that. And you're right. I think a lot of people miss opportunities because they don't like where the comp plan starts or this, that, and the other. And so
they just want it all.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if you're that good and there's future opportunity available, then you're going to get it because hitters create their own opportunity. Top producers create their own opportunity and create their own, when I first got into the solar industry, I remember calling a company, the first company I started with, and I said, hey, can I speak with your sales guy or your sales manager, I asked. And they were like, well, we don't have a sales department. And I said, do you want one? That was literally how I got hired.
And you opened up the sales department.
So I opened up, exactly. So that job didn't exist anymore or didn't exist at the time until I called. And so with the right posture and the right attitude, you create opportunities, right? Because any company will make room or create a new position for someone with value.
Good, yeah. Let's come in and work hard. And
So if you just focus on bringing value to the organization instead of like negotiating the hell out of it to get in, it's a whole different approach. And I think leadership there will respect you more if you do it that way and will provide you more opportunity after the fact you've proven your worth.
Yeah.
But if you come in here wanting this, that, and the other because you're promising what you're going to do or what you've done in your other company or in another industry, I think it's the wrong angle and the wrong approach because now you're setting yourself up for failure. It's better to be the silent killer, to come in, clean house, and now you have a negotiation standpoint.
Yeah, no, 100%. So what were the steps before solar? What were you doing before you got into that industry?
Yeah,
said I'm going to pull the plug. There's so much sunshine out here. I'm taking advantage of
I actually started by helping my dad out in his business when I was still in high school. Like I was driving around a box truck delivering candy, Mexican products into like little supermarkets and all that. Too late for them to do something about it now, but I was driving around at 15 sometimes because what would happen is we would park to be able to unload everything and then we'd have to move. So then I'd have to drive the truck around and park somewhere else. And so I'm over here driving without a license or anything, box truck. And so that helped me kind of get out of my shell.
What'd you do, like stick a Marlboro in your mouth so you look like you're driving around?
And then back then I had a baby face, dude. So I looked like I was 12 riding around this box truck. But anyhow, what really helped my skills was that my dad speaks English, But when it comes to negotiation and things of that nature with management or owners of the stores, it's for product placement and all this stuff that he wanted to talk to them about, sometimes he would prefer just to tell me and then I'll translate that. So he would tell me in Spanish and then I'm like, okay, I got to think of what he wants. He's saying it some way. I can't just explain to his manager the way my dad is saying it to me. So I had like that critical thinking moments in front of management, and I had to, I had to sell him on the idea basically. And at the time, I didn't think I was selling. I was just translating for my dad. But then once I went out there and started, my own business, which that was at 19, I got into the insurance business for about 5 minutes, right? Because then I decided that
life insurance.
Yeah, like life insurance and all that. Decided that wasn't for me. But the skills and the confidence that gave me to get into that was because of the experience I had working with my dad. And so working with my dad was like great. I could say like a sample size of what entrepreneur life could be like, what having your own schedule and controlling, being your own boss could be like. So once I saw him do that, I was like, okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't know exactly what business yet, but I'm going to do something in business. I didn't really even think sales because that's what it became for me. But earlier in my life, when we're, I don't know, I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old, I remember him finding a wallet at a gas station, a fat wallet, dude, with a bunch of money in there. And he's like, oh, look at this. He kind of flashed it at me. And I'm like, thinking video games, shoes. I'm like, my dad better hook it up. You know what I mean? Because we, like, especially back then, we never had like disposable income. We had enough, but we never had, I had the new shoes for the new school year and that's it, right? A few outfits for the new school year and that's it. It wasn't where, we had whatever we wanted all the time. It wasn't like that. So when I saw that, I'm like, cool, like my heart even started racing. I'm like, I'm gonna get some cool stuff out of this. I'm gonna make sure my dad hooks it up because we found it together. He's got to split the pot with me. And so my dad's like, what should we do with this? And I'm like, well, whatever you decide to do, you better cut me in on it. And then he's like, nope, I'm gonna go back and turn it in. And I'm like, well, take the money out. Turn it in. I said, because
make sure they get their IDs back.
Yeah, they'll be happy they get their IDs and stuff back. But if you give it to the cashier, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to take the money out and call the person, whatever. He's like, well, that's between him and God. I'm going to do the right thing because that's what the right thing is. And so there he goes. He's walking into the gas station. And for the second, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? But then, dude, that stuck with me, man. That stuck with me as far as, again, as a sample size. A lot of times people want to talk about how they didn't have enough of an example of this or an example of that. Oh, I didn't grow up with the success. Because I could say I didn't grow up with a successful father, but he gave me enough sample sizes that is helping me be successful. So instead of like wanting like, oh, this background of I had this, I had that, and that's why, I can succeed. It's like, you don't need all that. You just need small sample sizes. My godfather, he passed away when I was really young, but he was a very successful rancher in Salinas, California, in the strawberry fields and all that. I remember riding in his truck and him saying, dude, all this is mine right here. And I'm like 8, 7 years old or something like that. And I'm looking at all that. He's in his big old truck. And I'm like, with this big old cell phone back in the early 90s.
And
I'm like,
big old brick phone.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is it, with tequila bottles in the back so he can give out to his business partners and just doing it big and listening to his phone conversations. Again, it was a short time period. It was probably only a couple of times I got to experience that, but it was another sample size of, and so I don't feel like I missed out on, because I hear with people that grew up with successful parents or they had a very lavish lifestyle growing up and all these opportunities and whatnot. So I don't think we necessarily need all that. As long as you get some sample sizes, and it doesn't even have to come from your family. It can come from a mentor. It can come from other people that you meet, and you model that little taste of that success, that little taste of somebody doing the right thing even when no one's looking. It goes a long way.
What about now? Who's somebody that really inspired you in the last years, like getting into solar, developing your business, that really helped and assist you get to new levels?
Well, I've had a friend of mine who's out in Oregon. He does hemp and he grows and all that out there in that area. That's somebody who I've known for about 15 years. And he was, once I got into life insurance, he's actually the reason why I got out of life insurance. He introduced me to another business model that we worked for a good handful of years, maybe 5 years. It was the company was called Prepaid Legal back then.
Oh, okay.
It's now Legal Shield. It's a network marketing company. And so when I first met him, I felt like he was the first guy to believe in me, right? Maybe it was even just fake belief because he was prospecting me, right? So I don't know if he really believed in me, but
at least made you feel that
But
way.
I believed him. I believed
him,
and he was just really sharp. He was the first guy that really taught me the concept of edification. I didn't really understand what that was. I didn't know that was a thing, to talk highly about others, not about yourself. And he was just an expert at it. Like, I just see him to this day. He edifies everybody in the room. He would have already complimented everybody on something and never talk about himself. And so it's like an art form. And for him to get me excited to join his team back then, I remember he's like, dude, I'm going to be a millionaire with or without you. You decide if you want to go. And I was like, I don't know. I believe him. I don't know if I signed up not knowing, right? Because it was a new concept for me. So I signed up. I'm like, okay, either I'm getting scammed or we're gonna get rich, one or the other, right?
Yeah.
But hey, if I get
Either way, it'll
scammed,
be a fun ride.
if I get scammed and they drain my $300 bank account, oh well, right? It's worth the risk. Yeah, it's worth the risk. So took him up on it. We did really well, especially for my age at that time. Became the youngest executive director at the time in Arizona. So I got to experience, being on stage with a lot older individuals. I had people on my team that they could be my parents' age, right? They were my parents' age, and I was younger than some of their kids. And so that put me in a leadership position at a very young age, and enjoying team building, leadership, personal development, sales, all this that still helps me to this day that I would have
100%.
never got,
everybody gets.
and I would have never got that in college, So that was really what was the turning point for me. And in 2008 I was living it up in Phoenix. I had a nice Mercedes and living in a place not quite as nice as this or high up in the air like this, but it was a nice place. It was a luxury apartment, and I had already built my business to a significant income, and I thought, this is it. Now all I got to do is showcase my success. And this was before Facebook and Facebook might have been around, but before, this was when Facebook, you had like a little farm to play with or some shit. Remember there was like a farm, something. I'm like, this thing is boring. Who the hell's gonna
know about
dude? That was like the thing when Facebook first came out. They like, you had a little farm to, have horses in it. It was weird. I'm like, this is dumb. This ain't never gonna go nowhere, right? And so it was way before Instagram. So there was no way to really showcase my early success. Like if I would have captured my 22, 23-year-old success on social media, it would have been a whole nother level. But what I did, I basically just invited people to come over and party, to join my team. And that was the worst business idea I could have ever come up with.
Really? It didn't work out?
It didn't work out.
Everybody got sloshed up at the party?
Everybody thought it was like, just invite people over to the party, just invite people to hang out. We would watch movies in the theater. But then I was looking at the numbers and nobody was doing crap, right? And at 22, 23 years old, my leadership skills, and a lot of, I hate to say it, right? Because it might hit home to some of the people that might end up watching this. A lot of the leaders in that company at the time didn't really mentor me. Like, it's almost like they didn't really want me to be that young and to succeed at that level.
So they're almost afraid you'd surpass them?
Well, I had people that literally stole recruits out of my team, that literally took people out, that, I had accounts that I was working on and they stepped on my toes on that. And there were people that were close at the time that I was looking at them like mentorship. But they were kind of just using me for momentum to help the events look good and the events, have some life, because I always had the most guests. That was me. Like, I always wanted to pack the house bigger than everybody else. And so unfortunately, I feel that the people that I was counting on for mentorship, because my buddy was out of state, he was in Alabama back then, so he couldn't really do too much hands-on, and then he got involved in other things. And so I felt that if I would have had the right mentorship at the moment, it could have been a whole different story. But hey, I learned. It was lessons. 2008, it took a big hit. A lot of the people were in just canceling their.
Well, I think the lessons are more valuable than
Yeah,
the rewards most of
100%.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you fall on your face or somebody burns you even, or like, oh, I learned from that one. Now I know not to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, this happened.
But it was tough, man. It almost took my entrepreneur spirit away when I hit rock bottom, because from going from Little Yuma, Arizona to Phoenix, driving a Mercedes, living in a luxury apartment, I go to losing the car, having to go back to my parents' house, and none of my cool suits fit me anymore because now I was eating fast food, dollar menu stuff. And I gained in the process,
not even the salads.
in 6 months, in a 6-month process, I went from making close to $10,000 a month, living it up, being this young hot shot, dressed up in suits all the time, to I can't fit on any of my suits. So I'm wearing like whatever jeans and t-shirts fit me. And I'm back at my parents' house. I have a chargeback account on my business and I have no money. So I was like down and out. And honestly, it took me a while to bounce back, man. It wasn't something
with your head.
Yeah, it messed with my head. It messed with my confidence, and it made me think that these businesses aren't real. This is
Were you two friends at that point?
No. We've only been friends for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
Went back
No, Legacy was in grade school by that time. Yeah. So Legacy was probably hanging around with his girlfriend at Reese's or something. But man, that experience, it really, really humbled me. So now when we rebuilt and everything like that, and the hard part was that I was already getting serious with my wife, right? And it took us 5 years to get married, because when she first met me, I was on the way up. And then in the middle of our relationship, and before we got married, in those 5 years that we were dating, she caught me on the way down.
And obviously she stuck around.
And she stuck around.
So you had a good one, so you better behave.
Yeah, so she stuck around, but I definitely started feeling the heat. She's like, man, you tell a Mexican girl that she's been dating someone for 5 years, and the grandparents are like, what the hell? What's going on here? What's going to happen here? And so we took a while, right? We took 5 years before we actually made the choice to get married. And so for me, it was hard because my idea of getting married was I wanted to have my car and her car, our house, and the white picket fence and the dog and everything ready to go. And so I kept postponing it because I wasn't where I needed to be financially, so I thought. And so when we got married, the day we got married, we had enough money to pay for a wedding. I did not have the car. The day of our wedding, I did not have a car or a house.
You didn't have any car?
No, I didn't have a car. And we got married, and then we got into a studio apartment in Mexico, which was just $300 rent.
What part
furnished,
of Mexico?
Right in the border down in San Luis, where she was from. And I lived down there for 2 years, and then a couple of weeks later, then we got our car, and we literally started from the bottom. We didn't know none of the furniture there. We paid $300 for rent there. That's it. So my net worth was a negative when I got married, the day I got married. It was worse than when I was 21, 22 years old. So it was funny how that happened. But then once I got married and we started kind of game planning and working together, it literally has just been better year after year after year after year. And now we're going on 10 years. This year in December, it'll be 10 years of marriage. We already been together. In my birthday that just passed, May 16th, that's when we first started dating, which was 15 years this weekend.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Man. So you made it here now. What's the plan together that the two of you are working on over the next 12 months?
So I think right now it's the events, like really bringing people together, really expanding our team, growing that up, and taking a lot of the projects that we have been postponing, honestly, and putting them on the table.
Postponing due to COVID? Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean? Okay.
So, and right now I think we're trying to move fast, and we're moving with the intensity of, like I was mentioning earlier, like this is our last year to blow up. Like, we can't postpone it anymore. We need to move with the intensity. Like, we don't get another shot. We don't get another chance. Like, we don't know what's going to happen in reality. Like, nobody expected the strip to be shut down for COVID. So who knows what's going to happen? So we really have to move with the intensity that we've been at right now.
Anything could happen.
Exactly.
We just learned that almost anything's possible out there, just like a drop of a hat. All of a sudden, our lives are completely changed.
Yeah.
And don't take anything
Yeah.
for granted,
Yeah.
you know.
100%.
So opportunity might be good right now, but if you just lackadaisically get through it, you might not have that opportunity tomorrow. So it's like there's opportunity right now. We have a great team, great inner circle, great ideas, great friends. Let's push it to the limit right now.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it's about. You don't know what's coming the next day. We have legs, we can breathe, we can eat. Not everybody's blessed with those items. They sound pretty simple, but people lose them overnight as well.
Yeah.
Car accident, you name it,
That's
whatever it
huge.
might happen. Definitely. So I know as far as your passion is putting people together, networking, passionate about it. And what I like, it's not as much a sell fest or anything else that either of you've done. You're more of partners. How can I help you? How can I assist you? How can I help get you to the next level? So how can people get a hold of you for future events coming up and get involved? Because I know it just had one here in Vegas. There's stuff coming up in Arizona. You mentioned there's other cities that are opening up. And I think people all over, when they see this, they love to be a part of it. What's the best way to get a hold of you too?
Well, Instagram for me, at Legacy Patino, would be the best way to reach out, and we could connect there, phone number, email, and everything. And
For me as well, sales_shark_. That's the best way to get a hold of me, or Caeser Delgadillo on Instagram.
He's the only other shark I'll allow on the show. So just full disclosure there, so everybody knows. Besides my lovely fiance, that is 100%. But there you have it. Two amazing gentlemen. Thanks for coming on tonight. I appreciate the time that
Thank
took
you. Thank you for having
and
us.
thank you for sharing and opening up. Super awesome.
Yeah.
That's it. Shaking it up with the Sharks, and we'll see you next time.